Highlanders 1. And say to the Springboks, welcome back. There's their side. A new cap at fly half. It's Stransky. A new one of tight head prop in Barley Swart. He's done his apprenticeship. Lotter and Pinar, their back row. Small and Olivier, the flyers on the wing. And Theo van Rensburg, the goal-kicking fullback. It's a very talented outfit. But they are up against a very, very committed Australian side tonight. So there's a great buzz of excitement right around the Sydney Football Stadium. And I wonder what lies ahead of us in the next 80 minutes. So no doubt the nerves in the Australian camp, waiting on the Australian side to come out. It will be a wonderful moment for Philip Kearns, because on the two previous occasions he's led his country, it has been on overseas soil. And tonight, he gets his chance to lead his country at home. And I'm sure that the butterflies would be churning through his stomach. Although he looks very composed, Ron McCall, Big Garrick Morgan, Damien Smith, Warwick War, McKenzie, Little, Gavin, Horan, the new Cap Bowen, Wilson, Far Jones, Roebuck, Daly, and as usual the last man out, David Campese. Side, Marty Roebuck has answered the call and is back at fullback. Damien Smith is one of the new caps, along with Scott Bowen at fly half. He replaces Pat Howard, who made his debut against the All Blacks. And of course, Garrick Morgan moves to the side of the scrum to allow Warwick War to make his test debut. He was a tourist. I'm sure our fans and friends in South Africa will remember on that Wallaby tour last year, and made his debut against Western Transvaal at Potchefstroom on the opening match of the 92 tour. Philip Kearns today playing in his 31st international. He's the 8th Randwick player.
Standing, singing the anthem. I could feel with him that excitement of a test debut. Look at the man, he's pumped, jaws clenched, just focused on the game. He's got a hard clash with James Small. He'll try and run around him, through him, over him. But they haven't met this man. The arms, the elbows, the knees, the legs drive, everything moves, including his eyeballs every time he carries the ball upfield. He's a great young addition to the side, as is Scotty Bowen and Warwick War.
So the referee, Lindsay McLachlan, officiating in his 6th international. He refereed Australia-Scotland here last year. About to sound time on. And the first of the 4 test series of 93 gets underway, with the South Africans to defend the Paddington end of the Sydney Football Stadium. South Africa turning the ball over for the kickoff.
Great work from Bowen, just zeroing in on the ball. Came loose, focused, superb work. And there the first blow struck for the Wallabies.
Chris, I wouldn't disagree. He's like a back rower, hungry for the ball.
We saw him take on Uli Schmidt the other day. He took Uli Schmidt's space and drove him, and that time the ball was loose, he was focused and just zeroed in, like David Brockhoff says, diving on the hand grenades.
Now problems here for the Australian side, although it could only be boot repairs here for Garrick Morgan. I'm sure that his father, Big John Pogo Morgan, a former Australian Rugby League star of the 60s, would be very, very proud of this young fellow, the way that he's developed in the last couple of years. And in fact, this is his first run-on test match at the Sydney Football Stadium, having made his debut as a replacement here last year against the New Zealand All Blacks. Well, as usual, Simon, one of the unsung heroes in the Wallaby camp. That's one of them, Bob Dwyer, but Greg Craig, the physio.
Greg Craig's been with the Wallabies for a lot of years. He was there for 2 World Cups, and he's a genius at getting players back on the field against impossible odds.
The Chris, I suppose now the nerves through the mind of young Scott Bowen as the scrum is about to pack down. He knows more than likely he's going to have his first real touch of the football in the Test arena.
David, I think he dispensed with the nerves when he just zeroed in at the ball, and they're just nervously passing backwards and forwards with Nick Farr-Jones. Pat Howard, before he played in New Zealand, didn't have the opportunity to pass much with Nick Farr-Jones. Nick was carrying injury, and Scotty using every opportunity to keep focused, alert.
This is good stuff for the Wallabies. It's given their chance to the backs to throw that ball around. Even Damien Smith on the left wing, more accustomed to have played right wing for the Queensland side. But seniority takes over with David Campese maintaining that spot on the right wing for Australia. Now Farr-Jones with the scrum feed. Bowen putting it high in the air first up. It's just the chase is on from Damien Smith. And a good fair catch taken by James Small.
But not paid by the referee. I don't know whether there was any... They're really disputing it, James Small. He called for the fair catch. Looks steady on his feet. He just needs to have those feet on the ground. And steady, I call, good call. But Lindsay McLachlan let it play on, and Small is spewing. Look at him spit.
Well, I've got to agree that certainly if he'd claimed the fair catch, it should have been paid because 1 foot was on the ground. So the scrum now, it's a crucial call. Australia on great attack. Farr-Jones, will we see Gavin come off the back?
The Africans must keep this scrum up. Whilst it's up, Australia will keep attacking them.
Dupria has come offside and shows dissent to the referee. Well, I can tell you that Lindsay McLachlan won't tolerate this.
New Zealand referees known for their very strict rulings. The Australian pack very patient there. They waited to exert a lot of pressure on that South African forward pack, moved them forward, and Dupree, in desperation, tried to get round and grab Gavin.
Simon, I think it's an indication that Dupree himself is not confident in his own forward's ability to resist the Wallabies in the scrum. He was very quick to move. That was no just gentle offside. That was a professional foul. Take the kick rather than chance having the try scored in the early moments.
That's certainly right, Chris, and in the history of Australian South African test match clashes in 29 tests, the Springboks have won 21, so they've got a long history of great performances there.
Well, not only is Marty Roebuck back in the side, but he assumes the goal-kicking role as well. He scored 40 points in his last 3 internationals. A chance to put first points on the board for Australia. He's done just that, and Australia strike the first blow. They lead by 3-0. Well, Simon, that really was the start Australia needed, and a couple of indiscretions by the South Africans were enough to put them in that position.
Good kick off there by the South Africans. It looks like they get this ball back to their very hungry backs.
Now the high ball hoisted. It's been knocked forward by South Africa. Australia set it again just outside their own 22. That's tremendous drive by the Wallabies. Farr-Jones. Long kick by Campese. Back it goes for Tia von Rensburg. And von Rensburg takes play up towards the halfway line.
Australia going down the line with Campese. He's a busy man these days. He gets to fulfil that role. Scott Bowen was right in the thick of things. He hasn't stepped back. He's gone right to the front. The referee asking for a bigger gap. Now that looks like a plenty big enough. You could almost drive a Mack truck through the middle of that.
Now, back on halfway, Australia. Knock forward, so it will be the Australian put into the scrum. Just some mistakes creeping into the South African play early in this game has allowed Australia to maintain the pressure. At this stage, the South Africans haven't had any real quality ball. Farr-Jones for Bowen. The kick in general play sets Smith free on the left-hand side. Back goes Small, and turn for von Rensburg. And good pressure by Damien Smith. It forced Van Rensburg onto his left foot, but he responded well to take it about 10 metres out from the 22.
There's been a feature of Smith's play in the games for Queensland. He just chases that ball very aggressively, always there to apply pressure to the opposing fullback.
So Philip Kearns, the customary two-handed throw. They're asking for the gap in the line out. It wasn't forthcoming. And so the short arm free kick driven forward by Kearns. Far Jones to the breakdown. Gavin. Now the Australians drive him forward. Coming on the wrong side, Marty Swap. And so another opportunity now for Marty Roebuck.
Well, this is what Australia is looking for. Impact from their forward ball runners. Phil Kearns showed the way and hit it up hard. Tim Gavin went up and tried to retain possession. And Bali Schwart, the Transvaal player coming in.
Well, a bit of a blow, Russell. Fairfax down to the touchline. Willie Hill's off. I noticed that Keith Andrews is on. Willie copped a knock early.
Yeah, you're right, David. A knee problem, a strained knee ligament. They put it in ice. It looks as though he may miss the remainder of this test. That's bad luck for the South Africans because he was one of their strong men up front.
Certainly was. Willie Hills went on that most recent tour by the Springboks and played hooker in that role as Roebuck. Is he on target tonight or isn't he?
Marty is hot.
He's relishing his recall to the International Rugby Arena. He's given Australia the lead by 6-0.
And David, remember when Paul McLachlan was dropped from the Scottish Test at Ballymore and then returned at the Sydney Cricket Ground to do a record point scoring? Maybe this is on for Marty Roebuck.
He has 21 points in that international against Scotland back in 1982. And I remember Roger Gould was also recalled for that Test match and scored 2 tries as well. And the coach on that occasion, which he's never been allowed to forget it, is the current coach Bob Dwyer. So now a chance to watch South Africa in action inside the attacking half. Stransky, back it goes for Heinrich Falls, takes on the Australian pack. South Africa quick to the breakdown. They work on the short side. Van Rensburg came in the line. Uli Schmidt away for Jacques-Olivier. That's Francois Pinard. Good defence by Tim Gavin. Dupria away for Stransky. Return for Barney Swat. Good play by Dupria. That's Tian Strauss. Excellent defence by Philip Kearns. And Tepper's starting to fray.
It does look as though they're going to work the short side, Simon. They're punching up there all the time. Uli Schmidt particularly prominent.
Yeah, it's good to see the South Africans keeping the ball in hand there. Very good ball transfer. Tian Strauss, a noted runner with the ball, and he's always able to get that ball back for his other players.
So an opportunity now for South Africa to draw first points. Tia van Rensburg and the fly half Joel Stransky, both reliable and noted goal kickers, had a shootout this morning at Manly Oval. Francois Pinard, the captain, left it to both players to decide who would assume the goal kicking responsibility tonight. And I would assume, Chris, from what we see in front of us, that Tia van Rensburg won that shootout early this morning.
Well, he wasn't so sure the other day against New South Wales, and Stransky's 9 out of 9 against for Natal against Queensland marks him as a wonderful kicker. But Van Rensburg here.
There's the kick. And it's not on target. So Australia still hold the lead by 6-0.
I think they must have been using blanks at the shootout.
Well, that's a costly miss, Simon.
Yeah, South Africans really needed those points. The Australian side has dominated these opening minutes, and they just need some confidence to get themselves up and running.
Now the restart of play by the Wallabies. Up went Stratham, taken by Heinrich Falls. South Africa worked the short side again. Uli Schmidt got the pass away. And Strauss's kick goes into touch. In fact, it was, Tian Strauss, the number 8.
Well, it does seem clear that they're going to take that short side option. They're very strong runners with the ball. They don't really want to go into touch here. Australia with conceded line-out strength.
McCall flew high in the middle. Short arm free kick going to South Africa. Now Dupria. Stransky puts it high. He's kicked it towards Campese's wing. It's been knocked forward by Campese. Picked up this time by Wegner. Now they attack opportunity, South Africa. Stransky. They set it again midway, midfield of the 22. Francois Pinard. Good drive by the South African captain. Lotter gave good support as well.
Just a little over enthusiastic there, the South African forwards. The ball was coming out, they piled in there and then actually buried the ball themselves.
Keith Andrews taking up the tight spot. He lost his position to Bali Schwat. I'm sure keen to fire up here.
Yes, Andrews playing his 4th test match. Former flanker that moved originally to the tight head prop position. Far Jones inside his own 22. Bowen to the right foot. Keeping it in the field of play. It's been touched by Van Rensburg. He's back inside his 22. Now, has he taken that back inside?
He certainly touched it. I think we're in the other side of the field. But that great kick from Campese, just downfield, taking field position. And this is what Australia has done so far this game. They've attempted to play it up in South Africa's half.
To the back of the line out they go. Good work by Morgan. Now the Australians move it little. Support there, Gavin. South Africa under pressure. Finally driven away towards the western touchline. A good touch finder. Just taking the pressure off by the fullback Theo von Rensburg.
Well, Jason Little will be very disappointed with himself there. He's normally very safe taking that ball up. It was a great attacking position, but spilled it forward and a good tackle from the South African players.
It was a bulldogging tackle, like that we'll see in the Royal National Show, the Ekka in Brisbane shortly. Wrestled to the ground.
Curves throw to the line out again. McCall. Now Far Jones. Support Wilson. Australia 15 metres inside their own territory. Arriving there was Ewan McKenzie. Stolen by Andrews. Australia a little bit disorganised. The kick on the short side by Dupria. Australia are under pressure. Dupria. And it's gone forward. Gee, he would have taken a lot of stopping there. He's a big man for a halfback, Dupria.
The 9th forward, they call him. He just loves getting into the thick of it. Look at this ball here. It's touched by a South African hand and goes forward. There it comes forward again. And then Dupree, just so close.
Campese in trouble. Finally, Roebuck gets the Australians out of trouble. 6-0, Australia in the lead.
Well, they've got plenty of kicking options there and behind the line, both Roebuck and Campese, and Bowen, very good kickers.
Flying high with Stratum. That's a superb kick. A wonderful kick by Marty Roebuck.
Look at him, cold, calculating. He knows it's only performance. To take him into another test match, he's got to be clear and concise. Under awful pressure here from Lotter. Became very close. Floated it across and just dropped it into touch, getting the maximum yardage out.
Well, it doesn't surprise me, Simon, because even though his form's been indifferent for New South Wales this year, you played with him during the 91 World Cup, and I can honestly say I've never seen Marty Roebuck play a poor game in Australian colours.
Whether it be for Club New South Wales or the Wallabies, Marty Roebuck is tremendously reliable.
Those fresh pink cheeks of referee Lindsay McLachlan getting a little bit of a redden up as he wears a ball from Dupria. A shame for the Africans to be halted at that stage.
Now Dupria works deep from the scrum base. Marty Roebuck outside his 22 and with little angle drives it deep. The safe hands of Joel Stransky. He's got a prodigious boot on him, this fellow, but doesn't put it to great effect on that occasion.
I think you put the knock on him, David.
Early nerves in the test debut for Joel Stransky.
to the line out. Calling the numbers.
16 minutes of play gone at the Sydney Football Stadium. Australia lead by 6-0. Good ball made by Call at the back. Now they set it again, second phase midfield. Quick switch to the left. Bowen with a kick and chase. Horan is putting pressure, but the ball goes into touch.
That's a beautiful set-piece play by the Australian side. They swing it out to the centres there, set up on Little, then swing it back blind, have the option of the kick or running it into the line.
Ball from the top is almost unstoppable. He's calling the ball to himself and producing it on a platter for Nick Farr-Jones.
The ball won by Australia on the South African throw. Charging run by Garrett Morgan. Coming in over the top, the South Africans. It's Tim Gavin, the man that led the chase.
Didn't he take it up well? We've been wanting to see this from Tim Gavin the last couple of test matches, Tonga in New Zealand. Watch him punch this up. He gets it flat-footed. He says, what am I going to do with this? There's only one way, and that's forward. Hits the line, drops to the ground, presents the ball.
That's Tim Gavin of 1990.
Isn't it great to see? Welcome back, Timmy Gav.
Now Roebuck with a 100% record in this test match so far tonight. A test that is 17 minutes old already, with 2 penalties that put a smile on the face of that man in picture, Bob Dwyer. Francois Pienaar, the South African captain, looks on. That's the view that Marty Roebuck has of this kick. The crowd at the Paddington end will tell the story. Australia lead 9-0 at the Sydney Football Stadium.
Well, Marty Roebuck's doing a grand fox here in today's victory by the All Blacks against Western Samoa, 35 points to 13. Fox gathered in 25 points.
I think if you were to talk about a team in what you plan to do against very tough opposition, is carry it into their half and then score the points when you get there.
Chris, I see a little bit of deja vu about the start of this international. It reminds me very much of the All Black Australian match a couple of weeks ago at Dunedin, when mistakes plagued the Australian side. Tonight they've plagued South Africa, and Marty Roebuck has done a grand fox to give them a 9-0 lead.
He has, David, but South Africa don't have one thing. They don't have McCall, Morgan and also War in the line-out. At least in Dunedin, Australia had the line-out ball. But they've got it all here, and they'll be hard on it.
Now Campese kicks ahead. Von Rensburg took it well. He was in the air, so no fair catch has been claimed. Look at the drive by the Australians. They've secured it. Penalty. Hands.
Well, Stransky's had the cheap shot from the back as the maul drove forward. He's swung the big haymaker and connected. Referee McLachlan had a melee of players in front of him and couldn't see it. But the crowd here are alight. They can see the Australians are focused. They're driving forward. Watch here at the back. Whack! Straight into the head of Jason Little, who turns. And it was a cheap shot. A player with his back turned.
Yeah, Robert Dupree was the culprit. Now Uli Schmidt. Phil Kearns there, the front of the Australian line-out. Approaching the halfway mark, first half. And Australia in the lead by 9-0. South Africa secure it. Dion Lotter drives it forward. Dupree waits for the ball to become available. Closed off by Wilson. This is good play by the South Africans. Good defence by Scott Bowen. Dupree, Stransky through the dummy. Gavin went low. Dupree using short side. Tian Strauss. Away it goes for Barley Swat and Uli Schmidt. Don't the crowd love it when he's brought down?
Phil Kearns lurking around, looking to pick Uli Schmidt up that tackle. He wasn't necessary. There was a heap of wallaby defenders there to take him to ground.
They're working very well on the short side, the Africans, and watch Uli Schmidt get into the play. He gets tackled here and then plays the ball on the ground. Look at this, and then gets up and pushes it back. But still and all, they're doing really well. Their best football is coming on the short side, but it's not getting them enough yards.
Now, South Africa with untidy ball. Stransky puts it high. Marty Roebuck is outside his 22. He's knocked it forward, a chance for the Springboks. Oh, that's splendid defence.
Referee's called it forward.
Who came up with that tackle? I think it might have been young Scott Bowen again, was it?
No, it was that great tackler, Tim Horan.
Tim Horan it was. Yes, it was Horan. Great tackle by Horan. Now, Far Jones. Left foot kick.
Well, it did look pretty, but it was effective. David Campese, a little smile there. He's done better in his life.
Normally a perfectionist when it comes to kicking for touch. Uli Schmidt now. South Africa employ the short line up but still lose the ball. Roebuck thumps it from inside his 22 and gets Australia right out of the danger area.
And in the New South Wales-South Africa match, we saw a very high number of short line-outs.
So Uli Schmidt waiting for the call from Francois Pienaar. The throw hardly looks straight. And Australia have won another line out from the South African throw, which has given them a great field position. Far Jones, numbers to the right. Hoisting it left, though, was Bowen. Back go James Small, and this time he claims the fair catch. And referee Lindsay McLachlan pays it.
Well, the Australian coach must have some doubts about James Small's ability under the high ball. They're putting a fair number to him during this game.
Pretty useful with the boot is James Small, a good customer, but still Australia continue to win crucial possession and use it to keep the Africans deep in their territory. Pienaar's trying hard, Schmidt's trying hard. They're the red badge of courage, the marks that Africans leave.
Looks as though there's a line out there somewhere.
They play to the back again. Pienaar wins it to the back for South Africa. Stransky is in trouble. Play 10 metres inside South African territory. Dion Locker there in 7. Now the ball becomes available. That's a great charge now by Bowen. Dupree up. Roebuck moved very quickly to try and get into position. But the ball bounced between him and Damien Smith and found touch.
It was a pretty ordinary kick on the other side, David. It looked like one that Simon would do on the short side of the move. But the Africans move forward. Robert Dupree.
Big Warwick War there at number 2. The claw at 4 with protection of Ewan McKenzie. Good play by Warwick War. Secured it well. Now Australia drive it forward. Terrific driving more by the Australians. The ball is cleaned out. Another phase with McKenzie. He sets it again just short of halfway. Far Jones for Bowen. Again putting it high, but with little direction. It's been knocked forward by Australia. And Jason Little's been taken out in back play by James Small.
Just affectionate.
Yeah, James Small, not known for his subtleties out in the rugby field. Very aggressive nature.
Little focused, tries to close on the ball, and James Small didn't know whether he had it or not, followed through with the tackle.
They work on the short side again, but ineffectively. It's gone forward. So a turnover of possession for the Springboks.
And as you said, David, those couple of unforced errors as Australia made against the All Blacks, crucial.
Now Far Jones once again. The scrum 10 metres inside Springbok territory. A back row move comes unstuck. And now Australia with an unforced error.
Well, before you can take a back row move forward, the scrum needs to be going forward, and it was they lost a bit of concentration there just after the ball cleared. It came back on top of Tim Gavin.
Strauss again, turning it back for Lotter. Von Rensburg comes in the line. Certainly keen to use this short side, the Springboks. Now Bowen turns around James Small. He had sensed that Small was up in the action and immediately turned him around.
To give that territory gain to David Wilson, who made the tackle, got to his feet, got the ball back to the Australian side of the ruck, and cleared downfield. Great gain in territory.
Willie Schmidt now trying to marshal his forces, using the full line out. Barney Schwab being spoken to about the gap in the line out for the referee.
Up went Stratham.
The Australian side leading the line-outs 8 to 4, and it's good quality ball been put down to Nick Farr-Jones.
Here in the front row as well, McKenzie, Daly and Kearns concentrating. Pincer movement.
Great play, Australia. But equally good defence. Spoiling tactics by the Springboks. Well, it was nearly a move. And there's trouble on the far side.
James Small trying to get in for everything and pointing the bone at David Campese. It's very rarely you'll see David Campese get pulled into any confrontation. Normally he will just walk away from it, but he's fired up. And here it is, the push and shove, and then the duck. Things go flying. Small's pumped up. There's lots of tension there. Just watch what happens. Bowen comes across, and Marty Roebuck comes into the line, as we've seen him do time and time again. The forwards pile in and it goes right. It goes short and it goes quickly. Got interfered with out wide, and then the scramble comes on. Here Campese's in, and he gets checked there by a player coming through, and then James Small comes in from behind of Campese and scrags him. But the referee's right. The push and shove.
Theo von Rensburg with the kick. That's a great touch finder. 9-0, Australia in the lead over South Africa. So the line out just inside Australian territory. And again, Lindsay McLachlan calling for that line out to be spread. Good drive by Tian Strauss to Priya, now Stransky. Now Willie Schmidt. Oh, good solid defence in midfield by Australia. This is good enterprising play by the Springboks. The chase is on. Campese comes back to tidy up and does it well. Time to go touchline. Russell Fairfax.
David, just on that play with Campese getting cautioned there, he was hit high with an elbow from centre Pete Muller, and that was the reason for his disgust. But I think that Campo got his mind back on the game now. That's out of his system. He's ready to play football.
He certainly covered a lot of ground to get across in cover for the Australians on that occasion. And allows play to come back to the 22 for the restart of play. Again, ball security for the restart a problem. Great power by the Australian 8. Roebuck, elusive and effective. Takes play to the halfway line.
Just on David Campese's speed, it's quite often the case when a player gets older that he does lose a bit of pace, but Campese trains so well and is trained so smartly that he appears to actually have put a bit of speed on.
75 internationals tonight for David Campese.
This is the phase they need to get good ball from. That's not good ball. It's a win for a win's sake, slapping it down.
Now Uli Schmidt away for Francois Pinard. He's manhandled by Timmy Gavin, who really has played inspired football here tonight.
And against the Wallabies for joining that driving maul from the side and not behind the last feet of the player in front of them in the maul.
So the Transvaal fullback Theo van Rensburg takes play downfield but won't find touch. Campese returns it, and that really is unforgivable, although it works the same way now, Chris, because they at least get the throw back to the line out.
But it is crucial here that Australia beat South Africa in Cape Town because they kept focus. They didn't make silly mistakes, and Campese's push and shove has allowed the Africans field position, and they're desperately trying to maintain it.
Good drive by Strauss, the ball available. Priya loses it forward. Australia under pressure. The play will come back. The scrum feed to Australia.
And this is creating that great scene, the Queensland-South Africa game at Ballymore next week. Not all those tickets have been sold, but the test match is just so popular. It's building the excitement.
Yes, the test match is a sellout, but tickets still available for the Queensland game at Ballymore next Sunday, as Chris mentioned. I'm sure there'll be some great interest in that.
One of the players will be seen in action for the Reds next Sunday. Concentration here now required by Uli Schmidt. They must get control of this line-out. They must get control of their own ball. Rensburg talking to Uli Schmidt.
Lifting against the South Africans.
As they did in the New South Wales game, when they really wanted ball, they came to the front of the line-out. Here going forward, and in South Africa, the lifting is probably still an old art of the game.
Now, Dupree made no effort to get that football and took an Australian player out. But the penalty has gone the other way. It'd be worth looking at that again. Robert Dupree at no stage tried to play the football on that occasion.
I think you'll probably find that Philip Kearns took the same option coming through. Although it's pretty hard for Kearns to get up for that high ball.
Well, at no stage there did it touch in a wallaby hand, and I think quite...
So we are now into the final 10 minutes. First half. Tony Daly at the front of this Australian line-out. South Africa win it. TM Strauss swept. It's the lock forward. Hannah Stratham. Heidenreich falls with the kick forward. Olivier, is he onside? Campese came back, he's lost it. Try time. South Africa, Peter Muller has scored the try. And it's come from a David Campese mistake. And South Africa have punished the Wallabies.
Well, you wouldn't believe it. David Campese's had a great season with his hands. At time, trying to get back to cover the ball, decided to stay on his feet rather than slide in, and he's paid the penalty.
Well, so often the ball behind David Campese has been his worst nightmare. Again, it's punched in behind, and again Campese, instead of dropping with his whole body on the ground on the ball, does the unpardonable, tries to pick up, makes the error, and leaves it open for Peter Muller to score a very much needed try for the Africans. And David Campese may well have let them in for just that look of it, of the ball in his first half.
So close to the half-time break it was to Van Rensburg. Adds the extra points. And only 2 points separate the Wallabies and the Springboks here at the Sydney Football Stadium.
In this crucial last 5 to 6 minutes of the first half, the Australian side need to do what New Zealand did 2 weeks ago.
From the restart of play, Hannah Stratham securing the ball. Well, the South African fans here at the stadium erupted, as I'm sure they did back in the Republic with Peter Muller's second try in international rugby. His first was against the All Blacks in the dying stages of the Ellis Park Test match last year. What a timely one it was, Chris, for Francois Pienaar's men.
It was, David, but they cranked up the pressure. You could see in that time since Campese had the push and shove that they focused and they took the yards every time they got them.
Now, Damien Smith. Australia set it again. It's gone forward. Australia lose possession, but they've got the penalty.
Well, that was a straightforward professional foul. The ball flicked back. The Australian side on attack. Here we see it. Damien Smith gets his body around to the right position. Looks like Tian Strauss. He's got his hand there. Whack, back it goes. Totally illegal.
When you're off your feet, you're out of the game. You can't play. The tackling player can't play at the ball until he gets back up to his feet. And Tian Strauss would have known it. But Bob Dwyer making notes. Half-time's approaching. There's things that need to be said to this Wallaby team to keep them focused, to keep the concentration level up, to keep these small mistakes out of the game.
Marty Roebuck. .31 metres out in front. 3 from 3 so far in this international. A chance to stretch Australia's lead. But he's hooked the kick. Away to the left it goes, and no change to the score. Australia 9, South Africa 7.
I'm sure Tian Strauss's teammates out at Stellenbosch University will be breathing a sigh of relief with the penalty goal missing.
That's a poor pass. Horan, great composure in midfield. Great strength to try and stay on his feet as well. The South Africans have closed him off. Australia have the ball. And back goes Van Rensburg. He's touched the ball inside his 22. And swings around onto the right foot and finds touch. Very calm, cool, collected Thea van Rensburg in this test match so far.
As you say, Simon, I'm sure in Stellenbosch and surrounds there'd be many fine bottles of Nietlingsdorf wine and being consumed as they sit and watch their heroes here in Australia for the first time in 22 years.
Well, that try 6 minutes from half-time was just what the doctor ordered for the South Africans. And Australia hold a 2-point lead as we fast approach the first break after 40 minutes. Now, Campisi's touch finder isn't on target. Just have a look back there to that previous line-out. There's the kick from Van Rensburg.
So I think we can see the Africans have successfully upset David Campisi's game. They saw him pulled into confrontation and making an error behind him that seems to have disturbed his kicking game as well. Must take a big deep breath for David Campisi. Focus from the Wallabies.
Now Bowen. Horan takes on the defence. It was good defence too. Australia have a chance right-hand side. There's Bowen. Again, Heinrich falls up in very, very solid defence. Australia been looking to clean it out. They do. Attempt to drop goal by Campisi.
It's off a South African player though, so it's a play-on situation.
No, I don't think so, Chris. It was just a terrible kick.
It's just a shot. I thought it had come off an errant African hand. Campisi just not balanced at the moment. I thought there it had clipped the back of a green jersey.
In all fairness to David Campisi, I think we can afford a couple of indiscretions, Chris. The last couple of years he's played nearly mistake-free football, which the way that David plays the game, it's a credit to him. But he's got to get focused. Roebuck doesn't find it. De Pria, back for Stransky.
He's got Tony Daly for offside. Jason Little had that try line in sight.
It's the offside from the kick, so it's the punishing one that comes back here. Tony Daly. I'm not sure if it was Tim Horan, in fact, was in front of the kicker and took paces forward, so therefore effectively putting himself offside, and the Africans have the option of the scrum back where the ball was kicked from.
Now blindside move. De Pria, great strength, small, wonderful try. What a terrific try by the Springboks, exploiting the short side, and they caught Australia napping.
Well, the Springboks used the same move against France in the second test match. The flick pass from Tian Strauss. Flick it wide, plenty of support here. and David Wilson just not quite able to stop.
Well,
the
maybe
try.
the Australian selectors will rue the selection of not a permanent tight side flanker there, as Garrick Morgan is found a little wanting. He had them all coming at him. Watch it. Morgan went one way, then it came back inside. They were stretched. They were hurting. Small propped. Stood up the defence and over.
James Small of Natal scores his third try for the Springboks. He scored one against France. And now he scored against the Wallabies. What a vital kick this is for Van Rensburg, right on half-time here at the stadium. South Africa lead by 12-9. His kick is a gem. And at half-time, South Africa lead Australia by 14 points to 9. Second half, and Australia secure it well from the kickoff. Wasn't Uli Schmidt committed from the restart of play. Australia with control of the football just outside their own 22. Far Jones chipping over the top.
Lineouts, Australia leading 10-8, and the referee said he'll penalise for the lifting that's going on the front of the lineout. Ruck and Maul, 16 all there, not a bad performance by both sides. The scrums, Australia leading 8-4, and then the 5-outs possessions there, both 5-outs willing to use the ball a bit, but obviously the Australian side kicking the ball 7 times there. Scotty Bowen liking to use the high ball.
Ball controlled by Hannah Stratham. Right on the halfway line. That's the line you can see in picture. Now Robert Dupria. There's gaps there in the Australian defence. Francois Pinault arrived to the breakdown. Oh, good tackle on Stransky. Australia win it. Far Jones, hassled, poor pass, picked up by Roebuck. Roebuck angling it away towards the far touchline. Gee, that's great composure by the Australian fullback. He's had a magnificent return to international rugby.
Well, this is where the Australians need to be. They lost a lot of confidence there in the second half, but for no real reason. They need to crank it up, start to have some confidence to carry the ball across the advantage line. Bob Templeton would be really getting his forwards riled up there at half-time, pushing through this South African defence.
This is critical area. South Africans just trailing in the lineouts. The Wallabies focused.
South Africa so far has scored 2 tries to Australia's 0. It's only been the boot of Marty Roebuck that's kept Australia in touch. 14-9. Now the drive put onto the Australian 8. That's Ewan McKenzie at the back, wheeling it left.
Referee be watching to make sure this ball stays up.
Now they turn it right. McKenzie sets it. Pienaar stayed on his feet, was taken out. Australia get it. That's Philip Kearns who hits it up again.
Must retain possession and present it properly.
Kearns Jones. Fair catch taken by Uli Schmidt.
Isn't he about the paddock? He's everywhere when needed. Uli Schmidt, a very mobile player and resourceful.
Well, I think that was a unnecessary kick from young Scotty Bowen. At his back line sweeping into attack then. And you've got some 2 strong centres in Horan and Little. Let's get the ball out to him.
I'd hope that that'd be the last option taken 5 or 10 metres out from the line, except to put it on the ground if the defence is up too flat. But here, Australia will probably use McCall towards the back, or Gavin.
Lifting by the Australians. Quizzical look from Rod McCall. Not guilty, he says.
Well, at half-time, David Bishop, the more experienced of the officials out there on the sideline, was speaking to Lindsay McLachlan. He did exactly that then.
now's your chance to watch and see what lifting's about. A player is allowed to be supported when he gets to the top of his jump, but you can't haul him off the ground.
Kern's throw. Morgan's ball spoiled. Far Jones. Bowen, the cutout pass. And the kick downfield by the Australians has turned Van Rensburg around. But the kick is too deep. He'll be quite content to force it in his own in goal.
And I think a right cheer from the crowd. I think it's the first time that we've seen... that ball get too much wider of the centres, and the crowd wanting to see more of it.
Now, first real chance for Damien Smith. But he's met with some fabulous defence out wide. Penalty offside, South Africa. And Marty Roebuck comes up to try and put further points on the board.
There the ball's on the ground. The tackling player sets the place where the advantage line is, where the offside line is. And referee just handing the penalty out. Now it's up to Marty Roebuck.
Well, if this kick is successful, it will equal the record of points scored by an Australian against the South African side. Beres Elwood, 4 penalty goals in that 18-11 win at the Sydney Cricket Ground in 1965 has stood the test of time. And Roebuck already with 9 points. This to draw Australia to within 2 points of the South Africans and register his 12th point of the match. Distance isn't a problem, but accuracy is, and no change to the scoreline. 14 points to 9. Australia trail the South Africans.
Well, this has to be a crucial position for the Wallabies. Good clean possession and from here, but it goes again to the Springboks.
Well, I've been a fan of Van der Westhuizen, the Northern Transvaal number 9, Chris, but gee, Robert Dupree's experience there tonight has just shown to the fore. Wonderful service on that occasion.
He has, David. We saw in the Cape Town test that he likes to become involved. And here again tonight, he's leading by example.
41,190 people here at the Sydney Football Stadium tonight for this historic clash. We're watching right around Australia, all around the countries. Our first nighttime rugby international here in Australia. Australia trailing by 14 to 9. South Africa doing it well. Dupree up. Back for Campese. Decides to run it. It's a poor pass. Australia in trouble again. Now, Pinar. Away it goes. Stransky. Good defence by Bowen. Australia with their backs to the wall at the moment, and the pressure taken off with a rare mistake by Uli Smith.
One of the more experienced South African players, Uli Smith, and he knows it. He's made a mistake.
He had Francois Pinar behind him, and I think he got a bit of a shunt along by Pinar. It was a bit of a wrestle for the ball. It's Scott Bowen trying to get into the thick of it. Frank Campese hit him with a pass, which is just a bit unsighted.
Simon, fair to suggest that the Australian composure has been unsettled.
That's very true, David. The last 30 minutes of the game, the Australian side have been very unsettled, making some very bad mistakes.
And the ball bounces beautifully for Van Rensburg. And South Africa back on attack.
Well, this is a great kick by Van Rensburg. It went straight down the touch and parallel to the touch line, and then took the leg break into touch, and really putting the Wallabies under pressure. The South Africans asking the question now. They'll be contesting here, wanting to drive the Wallabies over the line if they catch the ball.
Good work by Warwick War. Jumping at 2 for the Wallabies. Wonderful secure ball by the Australians. Just when it was needed. The power of that weight advantage of the Australians. Now they must use it. Far Jones. Roebuck's kick is touched in flight.
We haven't seen too much of Warwick War in the lineouts so far in the Test match. That was a vital win. For the South African side, Dion Lott has been the big ball winner, winning 6 lineouts. I think Garrick Morgan's been the big performer in the Australian lineout. He's won 5.
Australia still inside their own 22. Kearns to the middle. Garrick Morgan wins another. That's a good clean out by the Australians. And this time Campese shows truer form.
And that's been the bonus of having Garrick Morgan on the flank, is that you get another great jumper towards the back.
Francois Pinard read the throw from Olivier. Now South Africa set it 10 inside the Australian territory. Dupria, Stransky, stood. Ball spoiled by the Australians. South Africa quick to the breakdown. And South Africa get the put into the scrum.
Nick Farr-Jones covering up the mistake of Rob McCall there. Batted the ball back, and Farr-Jones had to go back and fall on it to cover the mistake.
Well, they exploit the short side again. Dupria, Stransky, a set move. They hit it back towards the Australian pack. Picked up by Wegner. Now Peter Muller. More than a handful for Tim Horan on that occasion. Dupria. But it's been lost forward. Australian put into the scrum. They trail by 14 points to 9 with about 29 and a half minutes of play remaining here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Campese. Kick downfield. Vince Jacques in the air. And finds touch. 14 points to 9. So this line-out will take place in South African territory.
The Wallabies continue to use David Campese.
Throws to the line out. Australia win it on the South African throw. Farr-Jones, Bowen, Horan, Little changes the point of attack. Came to Hannah Stratham. Now Australia work beautifully on the blind side. Campese. Stolen by South Africa.
Early Smith lurking there again. He's been around a long time.
Great play from Schmidt. Positioned himself for the return pass inside. Campese did well to leave it behind, but he was there.
Vital ball for the Australians. Lifting again. Well, a touch of irony, Chris, after South Africa guilty of it during the 92 tour, that the Australians are being pinged for the same thing.
Yes, David, and I don't think you watch Warwick War does the delay jump here. You are able to be supported at the top of your jump, both of those hands up under the armpits of War, and that's not a place that you lift a player from. It's a place that you support one from.
Von Rensburg's kick won't find touch. Farr-Jones. Campese. Well, the bounce of the ball just not favouring Campese tonight. Russell of this Australian side are going to get back into it, just 27 minutes to do so.
Yeah, they're showing a fair bit of wear and tear down here. The Springboks are really putting it to the Aussies. They're in their face all day. The Australians must come to grips with this.
There's the long kick downfield. Roebuck, safe as a bank outside his 22. Rensburg, no angle to work with, forced onto the left foot and takes play outside the 22.
Scott Bowen has been forced into changing the pattern. They've had 6 possessions at first 5-8 at Scott Bowen, and he's passed 5 of them in the second spell. They're keen to get over the line. They're keen to change the options, and I think it's a good one to go out wide.
Well, he's copped the Australians for coming through offside there. They're just coming through in the normal line from a throw-in. Vital penalty to the South Africans. The Australian back line primed, ready to go then.
Onto the left foot goes Theo van Rensburg. And on his unfamiliar foot, gains a good 35 or 40 metres.
I think it's a good performance from the South Africans so far in the second half. They've come to grips with the line out. They're really contesting it. Now let's see when they've got field position whether they can get it and use it.
They go to the back of the line out, but the ball's been spoiled by the Australians. Now Garrick Morgan charges upfield. They lay it back. Drift picked up again and driven forward. Wonderful play, Wilson. Now can Australia set it? South Africa is short on the left. But a penalty.
Keith Andrews, number 19. Coming from the wrong side, just lay in over the ball to prevent Australia from winning it. Being told by the referee, don't lie about the place, son, get out of it.
Well, that was a tragic end to a fantastic movement. Would have been great to have seen that ball pop out of that ruck.
Inspired play, Russell, by the Australian side.
Yeah, great play by the Australian side. It would have been great to keep the ball moving, but just on camera now we see Far Jones. He has some problems with his contact lenses, and he's seeking to change them while Marty Roebuck takes his shot at goal.
Roebuck has missed his last 2 attempts after being successful with his first 3. Australia need him to be on target right now. And he answers Australia's call. 14 points to 12. South Africa in the lead.
Marty Roebuck just knows how important those points are. He changes the effect of it, brings them closer.
From the kick-off, Warwick War secured good ball for Australia again. And Russell, I can just see temper starting to flare down there.
Yeah, it's very tense down here. Both sides know that the next try scorer in the match will probably win it. Both of the sides want to be that try scorer.
Now there's Peter Muller turning it back for James Small. The ball's been knocked forward, picked up by Heinrich Fools.
Good tackle from Marty Roebuck, coming in, took the extra man. Look at him, he just watches him come into the line. Here it's held up by Muller. Brings in that extra man and gets nailed by Marty Roebuck, spilling the ball.
Kick downfield by the Wallabies. Van Rensburg takes it inside his own half. And kicks it down into the Australian in goal, where it will go dead. So play will come back to the 22 for the restart of play.
It's very apparent the Australian forwards have decided to take the game into their hands. They're driving very hard through the South African forwards, getting across the advantage line. Bob Dwyer chewing on the fingernails there. You'd have to be a worried man. This is not a good performance at this stage by the Wallabies.
I think he's down to the second knuckle by the look of that one.
I think he might be down to his elbow. His shoe's coming up shortly, and rightly he has to worry, but this is a good side. They'll need to focus, but South Africa have been put under this sort of pressure before, and they've been able to hold out with Northern Transvaal, and Transvaal making up a significant part of this side. A couple of Western Province players. They know what it's like to keep and play close matches.
Now they work the short side against Stransky. Back for James Small. Now South Africa set it again. Stransky cut out Pinar. Pass out for Jacques Olivier. He's got wonderful feet in the air. Comes back infield. Good play by Jacques Olivier. Now De Pria works right-hand side. Attempted drop goal by Stransky. And he's missed it.
That was a vital miss. Jacques Olivier. I think if he kept on going wide, there was players ranging up next to him. Here's a drop goal. Wasn't too far away from the 3 points they needed.
Australia from this region.
Look out.
Joel Stransky was described as being more a kicking fly half than a running fly of 8 like Henny LaRue. We're sharing a taxi this morning with Michael Liner from the Sydney airport. He played against Stransky for Sendona. He was saying to me, don't be deceived by that because the lad can run the football as well. Now Campese, who can run the football. But this time he just runs it straight into touch.
Well, David Campese looked across. He didn't see too many goal jumpers close to him. He went for the outside break and found the touchline. The Australian side on line out have been penalised 3 times in the second half for lifting. They've got to watch that phase of their play.
We're now at the halfway mark, second half. Into the final 20 minutes. Untidy ball again by the Australians. Dupria. Kearns. South Africa more committed to the ball on the ground. Nico Wegner. Stransky. Heinrich falls. And again South Africa coming over the top. Must stay on your feet, says referee Lindsay McLachlan. Hardly tactics that you can applaud. Neither can you applaud that kick from David Campese. What was going through his mind on that occasion? Because Theo von Rensburg has returned it with interest.
It was a breakout on that far side, but it had to be a very well-struck kick, and I think only David Campese was aware of what he was doing. And unfortunately, that puts the support players very much in the dark.
Australia must get their composure back because they have been rattled by a very committed and determined Springbok side. Ball not in straight. The option given to Francois Pienaar. He elects to take the scrum. And it's a good, effective blindside they have got. And that's the way they go through Tian Strauss and then to Lotta. Dupria got the kick back in field. Fair catch taken by Marty Roebuck. Scott Bowen. Campese. Taken high. He's lost the ball forward. Australia committing some... It's been knocked forward, but gee, Chris, they're putting themselves under pressure.
That was a strange decision by the referee. I'd like to send the advantage play there for the South Africans. They're certainly well on attack.
Watch now for the Stransky drop goal. Through the 90 degrees. Stransky has set himself wide on the right. That's where they attack. Tian Strauss. Australia's defence is stretched. They are short on the right-hand side again. Dupria goes that way. James Small got the pass back in field. The hard-working Tian Strauss is in there. Uli Schmidt. Stransky away for Heinrich Falls. Support there of Muller. Good defence by Australia. It's been knocked forward by Australia. Muller. Great tackle by Campese. Well, he may have conceded one, but he's just saved one.
It's good play both teams here that tried to work the ball away. The South Africans just the hungrier. They worked it wide. Von Rensburg took on Campese on the outside. Campese's cover tackle is his best weapon.
What a vital line out on Australia's throw. The last time they were in this situation, it was a quality jump by Warwick War at number 2. They go to him again. And the young debutant delivers in a crucial moment for Australia. Camp deep in defence. Now they come out with cones. Australia drive it forward. Now big Warwick War.
They won't want to get isolated here, Australia.
Campese. Roebuck is taken. Australia quick to the breakdown. They're just outside their own 22. Taken in by Australia. It will be a scrum feed to the South Africans in a great attacking opportunity.
Well, Tian Strauss is doing some terrific work out in the loose. Get in there, securing the ball, stopping the ball from coming out. It frustrates the Australians, but it's good for South Africa.
I agree with you, Simon. Strauss and support from Pienaar and Uli Schmidt really working overtime there.
Now, De Plia puts it high to Smith's wing. James Small did well. De Plia. Stransky. Australia's defence solid. Wilson did a wonderful job on that occasion. Taken in again by South Africa. Australia's ball this time. Tian Strauss, Chris, by modern day standards, not a big number 8, but gee, he's effective. His mobility is superb.
No, but they always look for the jumper at the back of the line out these days, but he is terribly effective and a wonderful fellow. We saw him out here at the earlier part of the season with the Western Province team, and now here with the South Africans.
That is what is called relieving pressure. 14-12, South Africa in the lead. So the line out takes place about 9 metres inside Australian territory. And it will be Uli Schmidt to throw the ball into the line out. Time ticking away for the world champions. The South Africans drew 20 all with France, lost the other international 18-17. At the moment they hold a 2-point advantage here at the Sydney Football Stadium. They led by 14-9 at half-time. The only score in the second half, a penalty goal by Marty Roebuck.
Very good countering of the rolling maul there by the Wallabies, and it forced the Springboks to play the ball.
Stransky stepped well, but came right back into the thick traffic. De Pria works short side again. Again, Wilson's the man on the cross, wrapping up Uli Schmidt. De Pria runs square, giving it away to Peter Muller. Little tries to play the ball. But Australia have been ruled offside.
I think that was very unfortunate for the Australians. I thought there was a knock on there by Muller first up.
It was an offside from the previous play. The line up in front of the last feet of the ruck.
There is the look of a worried man. Australian coach Bob Dwyer. His record, 32 wins, 18 losses, 2 draws. His 54th international. The helm of the Australian tactics today. And Thea von Rensburg with a chance to kick South Africa 5 points in the lead. He's converted both the tries, missed with an early penalty goal attempt. This from the 22. 17 in from touch. It should not pose a big problem for the Transvaal fullback. His kick is a shocker. And Australia breathe a sigh of relief.
And you're the kiss of death, David. Gee, you wouldn't believe that test match at the Sydney Football Stadium, but relief for the Australians. Stransky, the South African fly half, has passed 15 of his 20 possessions. They want to get on with it.
And did I detect a little knock-on inside the South African 22 on that occasion? That is, and that's just what the Australians wanted.
But James Small not impressed. It certainly looked like a knock on to me.
So Australia on the attack just outside the South African 22. Bowen, Far Jones, Damien Smith in from the left, just upended. Philip Kearns. Australia 8 metres out. Bowen, those South African players are offside. Far Jones, waiting for the ball to become available. Here it comes. Philip Kearns. Far Jones. Campese. Australia denied.
David going back in time there, I wouldn't disagree. There was lots of South African jumpers there offside. Spoiled a great attacking opportunity for the Australian side. Here David Campese's got very little room to move with, play with. And unfortunately the try goes begging.
Australia with focus just at the moment. They've lacked that intensity, that desire to score.
Australia have pinched a few off the South African throw. If ever they've needed it, it's right now.
South Africa will come to the front. Morgan, Kearns, look at them doubled up at the front there. Garrick Morgan at 1, War at 2, McKenzie 3, McCall sweeping at the back.
It's been knocked forward by Australia in the line-out. Secured by South Africa. De Pria. Von Rensburg. Now Australia get the throw to the line-out.
We play South Africa.
Smart play by South Africa. They sent a couple of dummy jumpers to the back, Pinar and Lota, and threw it to the front.
Chris, I think we can look back at that missed penalty goal by Theo van Rensburg as this match progresses. It's one that he should have kicked.
There's no doubt about that, David, and for the Wallabies, there's been a couple of missed opportunities, a few mistakes, which have cost dearly.
Now Australia drive it. They're inside the attacking 22. They've got the numbers. They've got the ball. Bowen. Little. Back it goes. Australia does it forward. Now Willie Schmidt. They work it across their own goal line. The kick on the far side will find touch. No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. The touch judge's flag is up on the far side.
Timmy Gavin would be disappointed. He was in a great position then to punch the ball in towards the post, but knocked it on.
Talking about the ball won on the South African throw, Australia have won 6 of those throws from Willie Schmidt. The one they wanted down on the try line evaded them. Now, Philip Kearns. 12 metres inside South African territory. Australia win it. Far Jones. Bowen. Now Horan loops. Taking it forward before was Little. And Australia once again taking it in, not using it and losing it.
Good defence from South Africa, bringing the ball carrier to ground and wrapping him up, preventing him from playing the ball, makes it just that much harder to get possession.
That scrum goes through the 90 degrees once again. 7 minutes of play remain here at the football stadium. Are South Africa poised for a bit of history? Stransky. Roebuck from inside his 22. Again, the composure of the Australian fullback.
Well, back play there. We had Bulls pointing out that he thought Roebuck was out of his 25 when he kicked the ball. The referee disagreed.
I wonder what feeling of deja vu will be going through the South Africans' mind. They've played some close test matches, have drawn one against France and then a win by France by 1 point And last week against New South Wales, they lost the game by just one.
There's Strauss again driving it forward. Dupria works short side. Stransky. Olivier back for Stransky. The pass is a good one. Von Rensburg coming across is Bowen. Dupria, trouble for Australia. And the kick on the far side. James Small wins the race to the ball.
Well, I don't know that he gets his ball down first up. Needs downward pressure. The referee says yes, try.
Beautiful smart across there, congratulating him.
Beautiful kick, and they put this one beyond doubt. No deja vu here. And look at it, the Australians, the Wallabies stretched. Small flying, just watch it, goes in goal. He gathers there, and certainly he grounds it. Great try, James Small, he's worked very hard. He's been wonderfully competitive.
Well, I thought initially that Heinrich Fools had taken the wrong option. But didn't they expose Australia out wide? James Small, his second try of the international, has probably put the icing on the cake and has secured a marvellous victory for the South African side here at the Sydney Football Stadium. And wouldn't there be some celebrating going down at Kings Park, Durban at the moment, with their Natal right winger scoring his second try. Theo von Rensburg. It's 19-12, South Africa in the lead. He's missed the kick. 19-12 to South Africa. 4 minutes to go. Well, I'd say the best Australia can hope for, Chris, is a 19-all draw with 4 minutes of play remaining, and that would come through a converted try.
David Ned will take that forward rush and great composure to score a try. The side's capable of it, but just from late in that first half, just some piece was missing. They haven't been able to set up the players they would like. The South Africans have done a great job of breaking up the Wallaby attack.
And they have continued an unbelievable domination by South Africa over Australia. This is the 30th Test match. South Africa on their way to their 22nd victory. And only 8 to Australia. 2 of those in 1965. And 1 at Cape Town last year. Well, they've certainly been great learners since that August 21 day at Cape Town last year, when they were defeated by a record score of 26 points to 3.
Well, this is the last opportunity really for the Australian side to gain a draw. They really need to use this ball as they're going wide.
Far Jones, Bowen, Little, midfield defence excellent from South Africa. Play 10 metres inside South African territory. Into the final 3 minutes. Taken in by Australia, they turn it over again.
Well, as they have done so often during the game, the South African centres, Fools and Muller, have been able to smother that ball. Jason Little, normally a magician in getting the ball back, this time round just can't pop it out.
Hooks it around for Campese's wing. Throws the dummy to Roebuck. Takes on the Springbok defence. Links up with Morgan. For Damien Smith. Australia in trouble again.
Well, even in the final minutes, though it looked like something was being created, those mistakes crept back in. The lack of support players just affecting the continuity of this Wallaby side, but the pressure of the South Africans, constant, unrelenting.
They are 1.5 minutes away from their greatest moment since their re-emergence in World Rugby. They had their moments against France last year. They went so close to defeating the Five Nations champions at home in '93. And they have done their homework on the world champion Wallabies in this historic international here tonight at the Sydney Football Stadium. Now Australia break out of their own 22. This is the last chance for the Wallabies. Now Campese got the pass back infield. Smith. But again the cover is across of South Africa. And now they've got numbers to the left. Stransky with the kick. Offside. Again, wonderful tactics.
Australia will need to take the kick here. There's not much advantage for the taking the scrum. And there, just watch. Here the player out wide, Jacques Olivier, just in front of the kicker, and you can't advance forward if you're in front of the kicker. Uli Schmidt with an injury around the eye. Likely to have to come to the sideline to tidy up that injury.
So we have Uli Schmidt leaving the field.
It's a nasty cut, that one.
The replacement is John Allen, former Scottish hooker, who didn't make the tour down under with the 92 Scottish side, but played 9 tests for Scotland and wins his first cap for South Africa. Now Australia into the final seconds in this match. It's all over. It's far too late for the Wallabies. Morgan, last test effort. Campese. Warwick Moore takes it to ground. And that's the test match. No, a penalty.
Well, David Campese had men out wide there in big numbers. The crowd just went berserk when he came back this way.
Well, John Allen, the replacement player, was the offender on that occasion. This is Australia's last chance. Philip Kearns. Great determination. Far Jones. Back it goes Gavin. And South Africa offside. So even though the full-time hitter is gone here, Far Jones. Kearns, they set it. Solid hit in defence by the South Africans.
It was a great tackle. It really tied that ball up. The Wallabies will need to work very hard to get this one back.
They roll it. There's the ball available. Far Jones. There's the kick and chase. Pressure on Van Rensburg. He took it magnificently. Little's there. Gavin came in on Pinar. Desperation stuff by the Australians. Horan. Wilson. Gareth Morgan. Campese. So close.
I think his only chance was on the outside.
That is the test match. Great jubilation for the South Africans. They are back and they are proud of it.
Ian McIntosh there, wonderfully proud of his side. They got their nose in front. They hung on. Their defence was superb. They affected Australia's pattern and forced them to change. And they are victorious. And look at the delight showing there, the relief. Not many wins in their last 7 test matches, but this one their finest hour.
Well, I think that last movement by the Wallabies really epitomised the game, the South African game. They really closed the attacking forces of the Australian back line down with great defence. That man, Tian Strauss, had a fantastic game. All over the field, locked a lot of ball up and won a lot of ball. Horan and Little really clamped down by Muller. And the centres there were Fultz.
Jubilation for the South Africans, and justly deserved. Chris, fair to say, I think that Coachy and McIntosh, the 16 players he used out there today, led by that man Francois Pinard, did their homework splendidly.
They did do their homework, David. Australia looked really good in the opening time, and it was at this time that you really felt that Australia had chucked off the complacency that they had in that test against New Zealand, and were focused here.
Plenty of blood spilled by the South Africans, but all for a good cause. Francois Pinard, their captain, obviously is excited as he talks with Russell Fairfax.
Francois, a very emotional victory, but a great one for the South African boys.
Yeah, I felt the guys played really well. When we had the chances to score, the guys did it. A lot of criticism before the game, but the guys showed we're coming together as a team. We played well. I'm disappointed in the penalty count. You know, we gave away crucial penalties, and that could have cost us a game. But at this stage, I'm very glad.
It was a superb defensive effort by your team.
Yeah, in test matches, you have to make the first-time tackles count, and that's what happened. And I'm very pleased.
Clear winners, though, a 2-try to nil victory.
Happy about that. I think the guys will have some confidence going forward now. Guys played great rugby.
And what about back home in South Africa? You think they'll be pretty happy?
I think they'll be in ecstasy. We needed this one for South Africa. We owed them a win, and to do it in the first match is fantastic.
Thanks for joining us, Francois Pinard.
Thank you very much.
Francois Pinard, in his first outing as a South African captain on overseas soil, has struck a huge blow for South African rugby. And the flags fly high here at the Sydney Football Stadium in support of the Springboks after that long isolation have beaten the world champions. And Philip Kearns, the Australian captain, is touchline with Russell Fairfax.
Well, Phil, after the first half we were behind. We were a bit guilty of playing catch-up football in the second half. We didn't get a chance to get much rhythm there.
No, we didn't. We played some pretty stupid football in that second half. Some kicks not finding touch, and put you on a lot of pressure, and you don't expect that sort of stuff from international players.
Okay, so we're one down, Phil. I guess it's obvious that we can come back, but the areas we've got to work on.
Well, line out, obviously there was a bit of poor play there, both not only on my behalf but on the jumpers, and also I'd say the bloke in the middle made some mistakes at the line out as well. Some of our rucking and mauling play was quite poor, and others it was good. It's just we can't put 80 minutes together. We're putting 10 minutes together, then 10 off, and then another 10 minutes on. You can't afford to do it in these games.
Phil, I thought you had a pretty fantastic game, but I suppose that doesn't bring much credit now that the scoreline is as it is. But simple fact, they gave us a lesson on ball retention early in the game.
Yeah, they did. The ball was a little bit greasy, but there's no excuse. They held onto it really well, and we should have been able to do the same thing. Again, some play there you wouldn't expect from international footballers.
Well, Phil, I'll let you go. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Russell.